Okay, let's fix this bug. In the previous video, I am running out of time. That's why I close this video. Now there is an error, parse error, syntax error, unexpected radio. So there is error. It's showing the checkbox radio. Okay, display is equal to. So there is no equal sign, and we are not assigning value. Let's fix it. Equal to, save it, come back and refresh. So let's click on edit and see, boom. But there is something layout, we will fix it. Now this user has selected checked. Two companies are checked and 3 departments checked and one from that. You can check it. And if I go to for member to edit, so only one company is selected and we have selected a bookings. And we can also check in our database. So this user 6 is only a category, company is 2, the company ID is 2 and the category is 11, which is booking. And we can see in our categories 11 is for bookings, and in a user we can check the member is 6, and so here the member is 6, user ID found is booking. Okay, where is go permissions? Come back, let's edit it. If I change to admin, if I change to manager, nothing happened. Okay, refresh. And okay, I want to show you one thing that we have seen. I promise you that when we create a user ACL, I will show that function. So this function was when we create here. So when e dot is checked, if it is when we unchecked, so the checkbox, the ID should be hide. And let's reconfirm it. When we go to edit, unchecked, 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 see, all the fields are now hide. If I check and uncheck this company, this will be hide. Okay, and we need to refresh. See, if unchecked, 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 see, the company become hide. Okay, so we need to now just send this request to our edit update method. We are sending all the fields so we can update it. So in a controller, user controller, we have an update method. So in this update method, we will find our request. And let's show that it is updating to the farm to user.update with ID. Great. Okay, request and ID. So we need to find this ID first. Users is equal to create a new instance of your user model. So we can also use a facade user find and find that ID. So we can diagram that ID to a user. Okay, let's add it to name to update it. And okay, submit. So we are passing to our user model in a fillable. So we have all the name, email, and the parameter bag, request parameter bag, where it is request. Done. Here attributes, and we are getting the ID and all the fields from our database. We are matching this ID to our in a user detail, a user table. Okay, let's comment this, and quickly we need to validate the email. If the email already exists, so then show it will not check if it is the new email address while updating. So we have to make sure that the new email ID should be validated, and we will do validation by validate method. So let's create a function if condition, if request and input. In input there is a field name email, and we need to include this facade in our namespace as well. So right now we have not. So F5 to include illuminate HTTP concern input, routing input, no. Category, company, user detail, auth. I think without, because it is a helper function, and without using input, we can also use this helper method. Where it is, edit, update. So yes, so we can, because it's a helper, we can use without namespace. Okay, input field email is equal to this users user email field, then do this, else do this code of block, and this code of block we will check our validation. This validate, and this validate will pass our request, and will pass the array. We need to close this tree, and here we'll define our rule. Rule is to, if email is to already email, then we do not need to check the email, only just we need to check the two rules, which is one, first one is the name and should be required. Okay, and also we will check the role, that should be required. And if the case is, if there is a new email, user is updating his email address, then we validate this, validate, pass the request object, and in an array we will set our rules. If there is a new email, there it must be unique. We have to find the first name, the rule for name field, and it should be required. And the other one is the email, which will be required. Pipe sign, another rule, which must be unique, colon, unique in a user's table. Okay. The third rule for role, and it will be required. Okay. So now we are getting as using, if the email is new that user updating, then set its uniqueness. And if the email is old, then check if email is equal to the user email that is passing in through request. So we do not need to validate this email. Save it. And now we will send the updated field to our database in the same way that we update first while creating a user. So while creating a user, we need to get all the request name, email, food, city, address, postal code, and we will save it into our user database. Then we will send the updated companies and its category or department that we have did in the last right in while creating. So while storing or creating. Okay, we do not require the parent ID at the moment and the company ID, but we know that we are just updating the name, email, and we will copy this name from email. Also, we will do not require the password. Okay, let's copy first. Let's copy all and send from here. Copy it. Okay, come to our update method. Here is the class, and here is the checking. Let's paste this code right here. So we do not need these first three fields. Not required the country, also the state, name, email, and also not required the password, name, email, phone, city, address, postal code, role, and the status of the user. And we do not also require the logo. Okay. And we will not require our user model because we are already pulling user model when we find the ID in our user. So this will be the users, and we just need to this user only save it. Okay, so now we are updating these fields into our database, and before updating, make sure that we have to delete all the data in a user detail because we are assigning new companies and new categories. So new company and the categories, so we have to we require to flush out the old one, then we will send this data to our user detail. So here we will say user detail model. So which is we are getting user detail in our already namespace. So we need to flush out all the user detail of this user before updating in our user detail company and its category. So user detail where user ID in user detail will be the ID of that we are getting this ID update during update, and this ID where then do the function delete, and it will delete all the records of this user in from user detail and will assign the new companies and the category to the user. The all the fields that we have already discussed in detail while creating a user. So if count request access greater than 0, then user ID. So in this user ID, so this is there is a user. So we can find this user ID in a user ID, and we are iterating request access as company ID key and its value. So if count there is a department or category greater than 0, then iterate category as cat and then assign the user ID to from user ID and company ID. These are the field from database. So company ID and cat. Hopes it makes sense. And when we done it, so we will return redirect root user.index with message record updated. Updated. Okay. So we have 3 minutes to complete this. Let's check quickly. Parts are unexpected if where if this this is closing this and if else and this closing here. So where is the error? Here is the error. We are not closing the statement. Let's check other statement. These are closed. Okay. Refresh. Okay, let's edit manager quickly. Manager updated, and I am getting 2 records from manager. So giving one the finance and getting all the fund tech company from it. So let's update submit. So this field is required. Choose role. Okay, choose role manager. Let's fetch and active submit. So see the code is updated, and we can quickly see in when we refresh the all the record company and category deleted, and the new data will be updated. So company 2 and 1 and category ID 11 and 1. So these are the updated, and we can see in our manager when we refresh. So I think name is not updated. We will see in next video almost the user ACL is controlled, and we will remove some glitches that we are facing. So stay tuned.